Welcome back. Now, Meghan Markle broke cover for the first time since snubbing King Charles's coronation invite today as she introduced her woke celebrity photographer pal, Meghan Harriman, for a TED Talk. Watch.
Our next speaker has an unmatched eye for a good photograph. I've experienced his talent firsthand as he has captured many meaningful milestones for me and my family. I am so thrilled to welcome to the TED stage my dear friend, Meghan Harriman.
And in a dramatic exclusive for the Daily Telegraph, the newspaper has revealed that the Duchess snubbed her coronation invite because she felt King Charles's response to her letter accusing the royal family of unconscious bias was, quote, unsatisfactory. The typically pious correspondence was penned in the wake of her infamous 2021 interview. I call it a tissue of lies, rather than an interview with Oprah Winfrey, during which she made spurious claims about a royal family member questioning unborn Archie's skin colour. The Duchess also wrote to the King because she had concerns about a bullying probe launched against her, and she also complained about royal neglect, leaving her feeling suicidal, she says. However, a spokesperson on behalf of Meghan hit back at speculation she is missing the coronation because of her dissatisfaction with Charles, insisting that the Duchess of Sussex is going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from 2 years ago related to conversations from 4 years ago. Any suggestion otherwise is completely false and frankly ridiculous. We encourage tabloid media and various royal correspondents to stop the exhausting circus that they alone are creating. Well, I'm delighted to be joined now by the star columnist from said newspaper, the Daily Telegraph, Celia Walden. I mean, Celia, honestly, if I didn't know Meghan Markle and what this woman is like, I would genuinely think that that statement was from one of those satirical websites. I would think it was a spoof. We only know about the conversation because she went and told Oprah Winfrey and then hasn't stopped talking about it for the past 3 years.
But Dan, you and I, we've got to stop our exhausting circus. We are the ones creating this. She's done nothing. She's quietly getting on with her life very happily. And she doesn't need, you know, any prompting from us. But it's, as you say, I mean, it's just beyond belief. And I think, sadly, we're going to see a lot more of this in the build-up to the 6th of May.
Oh, yeah.
And I would, in fact, expect a sort of particular bombshell to be leaked at about 6 a.m. on that Saturday morning, because she's got to be kept. Don't you think something's going to possibly the name of the person who questioned her son's skin colour? So I think that this is unfortunately the beginning of a drip.
Because she's
keep the where it belongs.
Because at the end of the day, right, Celia, she doesn't want the coronation to be a success. She wants King Charles to fall flat on his face.
Yes. Well, or more than that, she needs, you know, she wants the attention kept firmly on her, because that's where the attention should always be. And I think also there's already whispers of the idea that sort of Harry and her seem to be breaking apart from each other in terms of their agendas slightly, you know, that they are both sort of leading slightly sort of separate lives in terms of of their public duties at the moment. And I suppose that's tricky for her too, because she needs the whole coupledom thing to be sort of front and centre.
So what do you think is going on there, Celia? Because we haven't seen them together for months and months and months. And, of course, previously she described them, I think, as being like salt and pepper.
Yeah, yes. Well, I don't know. I mean, it does seem, of all the different scenarios that probably you and I have discussed on this very show, I didn't actually envisage, and she's pretty predictable, really, but I didn't envisage her ever saying no, because I felt that she had to have this moment to remain relevant. And the reason for her doing so is still a bit of a mystery. I mean, there is stories about that, you know, there are these stories about it being about the letter, and I'm sure that is a factor. But I suspect she was also fearful of perhaps being booed, you know, which may have happened, but also wanted to maybe dig her heels in and make her point, and she's going to continue to make her point day after day in various different little ways.
Yeah, do you think maybe she was angry that Harry came out in this interview in January and said, actually, it's not racist, it's not racism within the royal family, it's unconscious bias. Because remember, the thing I will never forgive her for is that she allowed this corrosive narrative to travel around the world, to do huge damage to the royal family, without correcting the record, even though it was in Prince Philip's dying days and the late Queen's dying days, and they died thinking that the royal family was shrouded in racism allegations. We now know they were never talking about racism. They were only talking about unconscious bias. Well, hello, all you needed to do was come out and say, no, the royal family is not racist. They never did that, and I can't forgive that.
No, and in fact, they carried on this sort of weird alternate universe thing that they do, which is almost Trumpian, actually, isn't it? Where, you know, when Trump does that thing where he'll just completely deny he's ever said anything, or and it sort of, and it does actually slightly fluster you. So you start to question whether you're perhaps completely losing your mind, you know. And as tactics go, it's probably not a bad one. Except that in this case, we know that they did very, very firmly accuse the British royal family of racism. And I'm with you. I really object to being in America and having this perception of Britain as a racist country, because I've lived here almost all my life, and I really don't think we are.
No, indeed. And you're right. You just have to go back and look at the theatrical Oprah Winfrey interview where Oprah was getting very excited and it was clear that Meghan was talking about racism. Then there were months of stories about Harry and Meghan were lobbying for the palace to hire a diversity czar. I mean, come on, they knew what they were doing. All it would have taken was one statement. That statement never came. But look, I want to talk about the nicer members of the family, if we can, Camilla. Camilla being the person I want to talk about, because can you believe, I mean, this shows how she has very different relations, right, with her family. Apparently, her ex-husband is going to be at the coronation. You know Camilla a little bit, right? Does this surprise you?
I'm lucky enough to have met her a few times, and I mean, from the very, very short meetings that I had with her, she seemed kind of delightfully mischievous, and I could see that she's got this sort of she can see the amusement value of all sorts of things, and I thought she was a great woman, but I think in this case, I mean, you can tell a lot by how close people are to their families. And obviously there are certain rifts that are nobody's fault and so on, but it's never a good sign if people don't get on with any of their family at all. And so you've got this absolute sort of converse situation, haven't you, with Camilla, where it's a wonderfully close-knit modern family, and she's incredibly close to her husband. They were together for her former husband. They were together for 21 years. They've shared 2 kids together. Apparently they have lunch constantly, and he calls her up to tell her off if she's done something wrong. And I love the idea that he's going to be there reveling in this moment of happiness for her and for Charles.
Indeed, they've come a long way, haven't they? They've come a long way over the decades. Fascinating stuff. Star Daily Telegraph columnist Celia Walden, thank you so much, Celia.